Hello one and all, it is time to look at a set, not set review, that's for another time, and we already did it for this set, but we're going to look at the must-haves. We did this for set 1, and initially I was like maybe I should merge set 2 and 3 for one video, but I think that I'll have enough talking points for each to actually go through them. So, one thing to keep in mind is that these videos, the way that I do, like, what's must-have, is basically through looking at the future releases in the Japanese version. But for one of the clans in this set, Bermuda, we haven't had another release in Japanese yet until next month, and we don't even know the contents of that set yet, outside of, we don't know the Bermuda contents. We know the Dimensional Police contents and the Alpha Force contents, but we don't know for Bermuda yet. So we're gonna look at things, Bermuda will be a bit hard to talk about in that sense, so maybe we'll get a better vision of it as we go through, but we're gonna regardless look at things that are available in this set and look at what's gonna be expected to be good later on. So for Bermuda, looking at a lot of cards, it feels like there's a lot of stuff that will just get kind of crept out, but for now it looks like the next wave should be Pacifica support as well as Coral. So for that reason, for Coral, Soul is pretty important, so of course rares like Veluca might come in handy, but then if we're looking at the, of course, higher rarities, I think the Pearl Sisters, as long as you have space for them, will always be a nice thing to have. So the Pearl Sisters really do put in some nice work by being able to get you more cards, get you more soul, being able to bounce and do multi-attacks and things like that. So it's pretty good for that reason, I think, and overall just kind of puts in that little extra push. Revere, for now, the Revere line is not going to be that necessary, but later on, when we get to like Legion and G and stuff like that, Revere will have a Legion with this specific Revere. So if you do want to build towards that, I wouldn't recommend pulling for Revere herself, but for the Grade 2 Revere maybe. But this will be a ranked reward later on, because in Japanese it was a ranked reward just a couple of weeks ago, but this will be a ranked reward later on in English, so you might want to wait for that instead of having to pull for it. Again, I mentioned that Pacifica should be getting a cross ride very soon, because that one does hold limit break, and so then if you do want to play that, you will need regular Pacificas too, in my opinion, because she's also good rearguard with that on hit. If you can actually have the cost for it, it's pretty hefty, but it is pretty alright for that reason. And cross ride is cross ride, everyone likes them, but that's something to keep in mind. That being said, the Pacifica cross ride in its original card text is not that strong. They will need to buff it a little bit. I think the Counterblast 3 will become Counterblast 2. For those of you that don't know, Pacifica's cross ride is limit break 4, Counterblast 3, and when she attacks a Vanguard, you may pay the cost to basically bounce 2 of your Bermuda Triangle rearguards back to hand, and then you search your deck for one Bermuda card and call it to rearguard circle. So what I think they might do is make that Counterblast 2, or if they keep it Counterblast 3, it'll at least search 2 cards. So I think it'll be Counterblast 2 and maybe even search 2 as a buff, because that would at least make this deck a bit better. Being able to just push out 2 new units every turn, I think that's pretty nice, and then you can trigger a bunch of the on-bounce effects too. Speaking of on-bounce effects, this is of course going to be pretty important. I think Kareen being able to soul charge more and draw extra cards will help to hit conditions. Of course, Rio has the same effect. You Counterblast 1 to soul charge 1 and draw a card when bounce back to hand. So for for decks like that, that will be pretty important. Reindeer doesn't really get much support for quite some time. She will eventually, but not for some time at least. So she's not that necessary for now, and she will be a rank reward too, so you don't have to worry about that. So far, the only one that isn't a rank reward is Pacifica, so it's the only triple rare that you really need to chase. Then, let's say the Pearl Sisters have not been rank rewards either, so you might need to craft that or pull it if you really want to play Bermudas here. But I think that more or less covers it, and yeah, like there really isn't that much, like aside from PGs and stuff, for Bermuda. So this set, I would say, if there are must-haves for Bermuda players, it's like, I'm on the fence about the Pearl Sisters. PGs, of course, definitely. Then basically all the rares and commons. Girls Rock Rio, I think, is going to be pretty important. And then, like, Pacifica. That's about it. Everything else is either rank reward or not that important, and that's kind of how I see Bermuda. But now, getting on to the other clans that are available here. So, of course, Royals, we've covered quite some stuff from the previous set, but does the Galahad chain get better? It does not. If you didn't play it now, there's no point picking it up now. It won't be played later, so there's not much point to stress about it. And so from this set, there really isn't that much. There really isn't that much for Royals. Garmor is like, there's a variant of MLB Garmor, but Garmor itself will become a Gold Paladin soon, and therefore will not be played that much, but Garmor MLB is a variant, but it's only good for the mirror match and like for the Royal Pal mirror match and for Kagero matchups. Otherwise, not that necessary. So if you didn't pull Garmor, don't stress about it. MLB will be better without it, actually better without it. So that's something you can keep in mind. Aside from that, this set didn't really bring too much with it. Like apart from that, like if you play Garmor, then you might want to play one Grade 2 Garmor, only one. Everything else, honestly, not that necessary. This also, the Xenon, definitely not necessary. So for Royals, you can basically kind of sleep this set. You don't need to touch anything, just wait until MLB next set. That's where all the important stuff comes in. So that's kind of the point there. Then, looking at Kagero, there is some stuff that is quite important in this set. Amber is not so much, but there is, let's take a look here. I believe Airmo came out in this set. Airmo is going to be an important one-of in the end. And in my opinion, the Heat Nail Salamander is also important because it lets you just pop annoying grade 1s, and that's going to be nice, but of course these are commons, so, you know, when commons are your main point of interest, that makes things easier. Bellicosity is the card that you really need for Kagero. This will be a 3 of in the end. 3 or 4 of, really depends on the build, but it is going to be important. It is going to be played, and Bellicosity is a must-have. Either craft it or pull it. Kagero raid up should be next month, so you might want to wait for that if you really, really want to, but Bellicosity is super important. Like, really, really, really important. I highly recommend crafting this. Like, you will not regret it. Let me just say it, put it that way, you know. Then, like I said, Ambers are not necessary. Just thinking what else was there in this set that might be important. I feel like there isn't much. Dual Axes were last set. Waterfall is played in the end. There's either variants that play Dual Axe or Waterfall. Sometimes they try to combine both, but it doesn't really work out. But generally you pick between Waterfall and Dual Axe. I personally prefer Dual Axe because you make 21k columns and hit for cross rides without boosting. Whereas this is good because Waterfall with an 8k behind him is 22 to hit MLB for magic numbers. And sometimes it's just a good ride to go into if, you know, if you do brick. Because, like, thing is, there's also Blockade variants. So some people run Blockade instead of Waterfall. So then Waterfall is like in this weird spot where it's one of 3 other grade 3s you play in the end, and good stuff Kagero doesn't really do too much after the end perseveres. So Waterfall, it's like if you pull them good, even if you pulled 1, it's alright. But personally, if you have Blockades, you go for Blockade. I don't think there's any point to go for Waterfall exclusively, and so it's not that important in my opinion. And I think that kind of covers it for Kagero, honestly. The main point to be made is Bellicosity is super important, and then Airmo is important, and finally Heat Nail Salamander is important too. And apart from that, there's not that much. It really is not that much. And then, moving on, Oracle Think Tank. Oh, these next two, of course, is where the emphasis comes in. So, of course, the most important cards, where are they? Grade 1 Tsukiyomi. Absolutely, you know, Tsukiyomi's still the best OTT deck that has come out. We've had 2 more OTT decks come out after her, and Tsukiyomi's still the best. Still the best. Saw a lot of usage in the Vanguard Zero Championship Finals, which were already in the Limit Break format, in the Set 6 format. So Tsukiyomi is still the best. So if you want to play OTT, invest in Tsukiyomi. It's gonna be the best that OTT has ever been, and you won't regret it. Trust me, you will not. So that's something to keep in mind. Blue Eye I think was previous set, if I'm not mistaken. I wish you could just separate by sets. It would be easier to discern that way. And then of course, Grade 2 Tsukiyomi is important. And finally, the actual money card, Tsukiyomi Grade 3. So this is a triple rare that, in my opinion, is a must. This card is just it's what carries the deck, this entire chain, and being able to dig through your deck faster. Very, very important, so definitely a must-have for OTT right now. I don't think that there will be a better OTT card that will come out than Tsukiyomi for a long, long time. And because she's not as dominant in Zero, she probably won't get nerfed either, so she's going to be safe for some time. Orioli is not necessary. Imperial Daughter gets worse over time, so don't invest in those cards. I think, especially this, is just not really necessary. But Tsukiyomi, absolute must-have. Just absolute must-have. Like, I cannot stress this enough, in my opinion. If you want to play OTT, not a must-have for everyone, but if you want to play OTT, have a competitively viable deck for a very long time, Tsukiyomi is the way to go. I can just put it that way. Like, that's the best way to put it. Then finally, Novas. This one is pretty simple as well. You got 2 amazing decks from this set, which were Blaus and Risers. And basically, for Blaus, it's a very, very budget-friendly build as well. So, looking at it, of course, you want to have the Blau Grade 2s, but these are of course rares. The highest rarity card is a double rare, which is really, really easy to get. So basically, you can craft this easily, build it easily. It's going to be a good budget deck for a very long time. In my opinion, still one of the best budget decks in the game that they ever brought out, and I think Blaus are just amazing. Like, this will get support in the future too, so looking at it, you know, into the future, this will become better over time. And so risers, not so much. Risers don't really get support ever again, outside of Legion, but that's like a completely different build. But Blaus get direct support, like directly become a better deck with Galaxy Blaukluger. And so therefore I think that Blaus are always going to be a good investment, a good idea, a good deck to actually build. So I do recommend it quite a lot. I do recommend it a fair bit. And yeah, then for risers, of course, this is a 4 of must, and this is a 4 of must, but it's going to be a ranked reward very soon, so you don't have to rush to craft it if you have not. But otherwise, I think you should prioritize crafting these. As you can see, I don't have any, because you won't regret it. I can say that much. Like, this will be an important card forever. Same with the Sharkaiser, but this will be a tournament reward later on, so it's going to be pretty easy to get for yourself. But yeah, so honestly, I think that kind of rounds it off. Like it's just, risers are still going to be great for a long time. Tsuku as well, and Blaus are already a really good budget deck, but on top of that, they're going to get better over time when Galaxy Blaukluger comes out, so that's going to be even better. So I hope that this explains what are the must-haves in this set. And so next video, we're going to take a look at what's the must-haves in set 3. And in set 3, we've actually had support for every one of those clans, except for Dimension Police, but that's coming out just around the corner in Japanese. So I'll know exactly which decks have lasted and which cards of those clans have felt the most necessary going forward, and it's going to be quite different depending on the clans. So yeah, that's going to be basically it for me today, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, for Bermuda, it's a bit shaky right now because we don't know exactly what the contents of the next set are, but I mean, I think my guesses were pretty right, so those are kind of your must-haves for each clan. But I think this set, definitely, if you didn't build the decks, I think you're missing out a bit with Tsukuyomi and Risers, but next set, if you build MLB, you're good for months. Like, you're literally going to have a deck for months without having to build a new one, and you're going to be champ chillin', to say the least. So on that note, that's going to be basically it for me today, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.